At the beginning of this past month, Owlcat released their long-awaited sequel to 2018's Pathfinder Kingmaker. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous was a marked improvement over its predecessor, and having been on a heavy D&D kick for the past year, I decided to pick it up. Quick disclaimer, at the time of recording, I have not finished the game. I'm currently at the beginning of the second act, which still seems to be pretty early on in the game. Now that that's out of the way, what exactly is Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous? Wrath of the Righteous is an isometric CRPG based on 1st edition Pathfinder. The game is also based on the Adventure Path, a pre-made campaign for the tabletop RPG of the same name. In Wrath of the Righteous, the world is under assault by demons, and you and your companions are tasked with driving them back.
As far as video game plots go, this isn't anything too special, but it's all the moving parts underneath that make the game different.
Speaking of, let's get to what I like about the game. First and foremost, let's talk combat. The combat's good, full stop. The game's combat closely mirrors that of 1st edition Pathfinder, meaning that attacks, spell effects, and other combat happenings are based on dice rolls. I've been playing in turn-based mode, and encounters seem to be fairly well balanced so far, with each of them posing enough of a challenge without threatening to wipe me every fight. Dungeons can get a bit dungeon crawly, but extended dungeons force me as a player to think more carefully about resource management. What potions and scrolls should I use? How many spells do I want to use this fight? Stuff like that. However, where Wrath of the Righteous really shines is the sheer amount of variety in fights, and this touches on the player agency that is so core to this game. In terms of character progression, there are two things to keep track of in the game. The first is your character's level. In Wrath of the Righteous, there are a grand total of 25 classes to choose from, and each of those classes has their own selection of 6 to 7 subclasses that augment the base class in some way. In addition to those classes, there are also 13 prestige classes, which are more powerful specializations with their own stat prerequisites. There are also 12 races to choose from, each granting different benefits. My character, Aerie, is a Kitsune Flame Warden Ranger, which allows her to imbue her weapons with fire in combat. I'm currently planning to give her a level in Rogue, which will further enhance her attacks with the sneak attack feature from that class. The class customization extends to your companions as well. You have the option to let them level on their own, or you can customize your levels to fit your own playstyle. The second aspect of character progression in Wrath of the Righteous are the game's Mythic Paths, a new feature unique to the game. Mythic Paths serve both the story and mechanics of the game. In the story, Mythic Paths represent, quote, a journey into legend, flavoring your actions in different ways. Mechanically, Mythic Paths grant features outside of class progression, and those features are particularly strong in comparison to normal abilities. Mythic Paths are either automatically unlocked through story progression, or can be unlocked through side content, though the majority of them are tied to character alignment. The abilities unlocked closely mirror the aesthetic of the path. For example, the Angel Mythic Path allows you to gain an ability that calls a ray of light from heaven, healing allies and damaging enemies. Before, I mentioned how player agency is core to this game, and the story is no exception. Many decisions in the game are directly related to your character's alignment, and can slowly shift your character's alignment over the course of the game. Though I have been, for the most part, playing a neutral good character, many choices for the other poles of alignment were available, and at no point did I ever feel punished for playing my alignment. Additionally, the game world is very responsive to the narrative choices the player makes. There are small touches, like changing a line of dialogue based on my character's previous actions or alignment, that go a long way. Then there are the bigger choices, which impact which companions you have, or how you reach a certain story point. Speaking of companions, there are also quest lines for each of the companions in the game, which remind me of the companion quests from Mass Effect 2. They're nice ways to flesh out each of the companions alongside the main quest. Obviously, there's a lot I love about the game. However, there are a few things that I don't really like. The main thing is the army mechanics. At the beginning of Act 2, you're given an army to control for story purposes. Normally, these things are really appealing to me, but in Wrath of the Righteous, army combat just feels really, really bad. Unlike the complexity and variety of the base game, army combat is a slog. You have your melee units, which walk up and hit people. You have your range units, which stay back and hit people. And you have generals, which give a couple abilities, but that's basically it. So far, army combat has just been place your units here, hit the other units, and that's it. Normally, I would just avoid this part of the game, but content is locked behind these encounters. I don't know if it gets better later on, or if units get more interesting, but for the moment, I am not a fan. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous is a fantastic CRPG with great combat and a great narrative. That being said, it's not for everyone. It's one of those games I have to be pretty locked in to play, but it's very rewarding to immerse yourself in the world and your character. I'm enjoying the game a lot so far, and I'll probably be slowly working my way through the game for the rest of the year. Now, back to the show.